Most people don't describe their appetite as hunger anymore. They describe it as noise. A constant background pull toward food that never really turns off. You eat a meal. You feel okay for a moment. And then, without warning, your mind drifts back to food again. Not because your stomach is empty, but because something inside still feels unsettled. This is what makes appetite so exhausting. It doesn't feel physical anymore. It feels mental, emotional, automatic. You can be busy, distracted, even full, and the thought of eating still shows up. A snack, something sweet, something salty, something quick. And the urge doesn't feel optional. It feels like pressure. At first, you try to reason with it. You tell yourself you just ate. You remind yourself you don't need anything right now. You drink water. You push through. But appetite doesn't respond to logic. It responds to signals. And when those signals are mixed, appetite stays loud. This is usually when frustration starts turning inward. You wonder why you can't just feel satisfied like you used to. You question your discipline. You assume you're weaker than before. That something about you has changed for the worse. And slowly, appetite starts feeling like a personal failure instead of a biological response. But appetite is not a character flaw. It's communication. Your body does not ask for food randomly. It asks when it senses instability, when energy feels unreliable, when stress is high, when your internal environment feels unpredictable. And modern life is built on unpredictability. Meals happen at different times every day. Some days are rushed. Some days are skipped. Snacks appear out of boredom or stress. Caffeine replaces food. Sleep changes constantly. Stress never really shuts off. From your body's point of view, this environment feels chaotic. And chaos creates urgency. Urgency keeps appetite turned up. Not because you need more calories right now, but because your body doesn't trust that energy will be available later. When the body doesn't trust the future, it pulls harder in the present. This is why appetite often feels emotional. Not because food is emotional, but because uncertainty is. And the more you fight appetite, ignore it, or try to suppress it, the more intense it becomes. Suppression signals scarcity. Scarcity increases urgency. Urgency increases appetite. Over time, this creates a loop. Appetite feels out of control. You respond with restriction. Restriction increases stress. Stress makes appetite louder. And the cycle repeats. Eventually, food becomes the background noise of your entire day. You're not always eating, but you're always thinking about it. And that constant mental pull is what drains energy the most. Not the food itself. The thinking. What most people don't realize is that appetite is not asking for more food. It's asking for reassurance. Reassurance that meals are coming. Reassurance that energy is stable. Reassurance that there is no emergency. When that reassurance is missing, appetite stays on guard. And when appetite is on guard, it doesn't matter how much you eat. Satisfaction never fully lands. This is why people can eat enough and still feel unsatisfied. The quantity might be there, but the signal is not. And without the right signal, appetite doesn't calm down. It waits. It watches. It nudges. Understanding this changes everything. Because it means appetite isn't something to control. It's something to calm. And calming appetite starts with understanding why it's loud in the first place. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to understand their appetite is assuming it's controlled by how much they eat. The logic seems simple. Eat more, feel full. Eat less, feel hungry. But if that were true, you wouldn't feel hungry an hour after a full meal. And yet, that's exactly what happens to a lot of people. The truth is that appetite is not driven by quantity alone. It's driven by predictability. Your body is constantly trying to answer one question. When is the next meal coming? And when that answer is unclear, appetite stays elevated as a form of protection. Think about how unpredictable eating has become. One day breakfast is early. The next day it's skipped. Lunch might happen at noon or at 3. Dinner might be early or very late. Snacks fill the gaps randomly. From the body's perspective, there is no rhythm to trust. When the body can't trust rhythm, it prepares for scarcity. And preparation looks like hunger. Not gentle hunger, but urgency. The kind that feels distracting. The kind that pushes you toward quick food, processed food, or constant grazing. This is why people often say they feel hungry all the time. They're not starving. They are uncertain. And uncertainty keeps appetite on standby. Stress makes this effect even stronger. Stress hormones signal that energy is being used faster than normal. Even if you're sitting still, mental stress creates the sensation of depletion. The body responds by increasing appetite, not because it needs more calories immediately, but because it wants to make sure energy is available. This is also why stressful days often come with stronger cravings. The craving is not about pleasure. It's about reassurance. Your body is trying to restore a sense of balance. Sleep plays a huge role here as well. When sleep is short or fragmented, appetite signals increase the next day. Foods that normally satisfy you suddenly don't. Portions that once felt fine now feel incomplete. Hunger feels louder, sharper, and harder to ignore. And when sleep loss and stress stack on top of irregular eating, appetite becomes relentless. Not because something is broken, but because the system is overloaded. The most common response to this is restriction. People try to fight appetite by eating less, delaying meals, or cutting foods out completely. From the body's perspective, adds another layer of uncertainty. Scarcity. And scarcity keeps appetite loud. This is why appetite often feels worse during diets. The body doesn't understand the intention. It only understands the signal. And the signal says food is less reliable. Calming appetite requires the opposite approach. It requires restoring trust. Trust that meals are coming. Trust that energy is available. Trust that there is no need to stay on high alert. This is why people are often surprised to find that when they eat more consistently, appetite actually decreases. Not because they're eating fewer calories, but because the body no longer feels the need to overreact. Consistency quiets urgency. Predictability calms hunger. And once hunger calms, food stops dominating your thoughts. Another layer that keeps appetite loud is mental pressure around eating. Constantly thinking about food. Labeling foods as good or bad. Feeling guilt after meals. All of this creates tension. And tension signals threat. Threat keeps appetite active. When eating feels relaxed, satisfaction lands more easily. When eating feels stressful, appetite doesn't trust it. And trust is everything. Once these patterns are understood, appetite stops feeling mysterious. It becomes logical. It becomes predictable. And most importantly, it becomes manageable without force. Once you understand why appetite gets loud, the solution stops feeling complicated. The goal is no longer to suppress hunger, distract yourself from it, or overpower it. The goal becomes much simpler. Remove the uncertainty that keeps your body on edge. The fastest way to calm appetite is not by eating less. It's by making food feel reliable again. When your body knows that meals are coming, it stops demanding constant reassurance. Appetite doesn't need to shout when it trusts the schedule. This starts with timing. Eating at roughly the same times each day sends a powerful signal of safety. It tells your body that energy is predictable, that there is no reason to stay alert, that it doesn't need to keep hunger elevated just in case. This doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require strict schedules down to the minute. It requires consistency. When meals happen within similar windows day after day, the nervous system relaxes. And when the nervous system relaxes, appetite follows. The second piece is pace. How you eat matters as much as when you eat. When meals are rushed, eaten while distracted, or squeezed into stressful moments, even small improvements in sleep quality reduce satisfaction the next day. The body senses food, lowers stress hormones, doesn't trust it. Lower stress down meals reduce urgency, signal completely, and reduced urgency means quieter appetite. Urgency. This is why people often notice that after a few good nights of sleep, to recognize that food feels less controlling. And when that recognition happens, hunger feels more reasonably. And decision-making becomes easier. Recovery without extra effort. Sleep plays a massive role in management regulation, but not in the way most people think. You don't need to eliminate stress. You need to reduce constant stimulation. Fewer distractions during meals. Fewer rush transitions. More pauses throughout the day. These small changes send a powerful signal of safety. When the body feels safe, it stops overcompensating. Appetite no longer needs to stay loud. It becomes cooperative instead of demanding. This is the moment when many people realize that appetite was never the enemy. It was simply reacting to chaos. And once that chaos is reduced, appetite becomes an ally again. It tells you when to eat. It tells you when to stop. And then it steps back. When appetite calms, fat loss becomes easier almost by accident. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer fighting yourself all day. Mental energy returns. Focus improves. Food stops dominating your thoughts. The biggest shift is internal. You stop feeling out of control. You stop feeling guilty. You stop feeling like food has power over you. And that sense of calm is what makes consistency possible. This is why calming appetite works faster than trying to control it. Control creates tension. Calm creates cooperation. And cooperation is what leads to sustainable change. Your appetite is not broken. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. When you give it the signals it's asking for, it settles down. And when it settles down, everything else becomes easier.